what makes it so sweet? It's not the snow, well then. You know, the flower is still waiting. The truth is, we don't realize, we have a neshama. We learn about it. We don't know exactly to identify, the influence of the real truth is, therefore, that it's the natural state of a human being, not the state of a human. We don't need anything to stick us, to prick us to become happy. Like you ask me, why are you so happy about it? I'm happy. How dare you? You don't need to. In the country, to show somebody who's not happy, say, what about it? In the normal state, has an essential state of feelings.
Look at the tea with strawberry on it. Look at their own water thing.
You've learned not to understand. God is not dependent on anything. This is a real reality. All encompassing. And therefore it doesn't need to be explaining what's going on. The very experience, the very godly presence itself is sufficient to give us a sense of happiness. I'm still waiting, right? Like the sun. The sun is bright, and here it's dark. Here, in order to have light, we have to bring light here to illuminate the darkness. In the sun, you don't need to bring light to make it light. Light for the sun is the same thing as darkness for here. It's a natural state of brightness. And the neshama, the natural state of the neshama, you don't need to bring anything in order to make it happy and excited. The natural state of living, of being of life of the neshama is happiness.
Why do you think so many people are not happy?
Because, of course, there's much to speak about, but in essence, because their mind has been diverted from their neshama and being directed into the world. So, what is the world happiness? The world is not the source of happiness. Nothing in the world can give real satisfaction to a person. May have wealth, may have anything. That's not that doesn't really entice a neshama. But they're looking in the wrong direction. We all here? All right, gentlemen, let us start. Do we have to start anything over here? Do we have to activate something when it's active already?
Active.
Huh?
It's on.
It's active. Okay. The Pasha, as you know, as we always speak on the Pasha of the week, is Pasha's Mishpatim. Mishpatim, by name itself, already tells you that this is speaking about that part of Torah that should be able to be, that lends itself to human understanding. You know that there are three categories of mitzvahs, we speak about it all the time. Eidos, Chukim, and Mishpatim. Eidos are essentially testimonials. Testimonials means that which commemorates some kind of an event, like Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot. Pesach commemorates our coming out of Mitzrayim, Shavuos, Matan Torah. Shabbos even is one of the Eidos. It reminds us of the creation of the world. That's Eidos. So Eidos is in the category, in terms of human understanding, it's in a category that we would not invent it on our own. We would not come up with it on our own. But if the Torah says, and it says, you should remember in Tzias Mitzrayim, it says, oh, it makes sense. It's not something that's contrary to our intelligence. And this is the same thing, all the Eidos are in that category. That we can relate to it, even though we would not have been maybe instrumental in originating it. Chukim are in the highest category in terms of above human intelligence. Chukim really is not possible for the human mind, the normal human mind to understand, such as shatnez. We all know what shatnez is, a mix of linen and wool. What sense is it? How can you possibly explain what's wrong with a garment having a thread of linen with it if it's a woolen garment? You can wear a garment, you can wear two garments. One is woolen, and one is linen, no problem. But if you put one thread of linen in a full garment of wool, it's awesome. So this is the rice. What's in it? Don't understand. This is a garbage on it. This is on a higher level. Same thing, mixing milk and dairy, which we're so used to. It seems natural to us. But still, what is really the explanation of it? And many other mitzvahs are in the category of chukim. That's why they're called chukim. A chukah, the word chukah means a decree, a godly decree, a decree from the king. The king has his reasons, there's no question about it. But we are not capable of understanding, and we accept it as a chukah because we have a king, and we want to be serving the king, we want to follow the king's directives. So we keep this chukah. That's exclusively on that basis. And then there is a third category, which is Mishpatim. Mishpatim means rules, essentially, laws that lend themselves to human understanding. Not only to human understanding, but the Gemara says that these are laws that had the Torah not been given to us, chas v'sholem, we would have actually enacted these laws. I mean, everybody knows that to steal and to rob and to kill is contrary to human reason. And the same thing is many other things. The Gemara even says that we would have learned, they would have been observing animals in their activities. The animals do not act according to seichel. It's not an intelligent decision on the part of animals. But the Hashem has imbued certain animals with all kinds of different natures. It's called instinct. We don't know, we can understand what instinct is, but animals have all kinds of instincts. And observing the way an animal acts with certain instincts, he would have made us, since we are intelligent, to say, oh, that seems like a proper way of behaving. Like a camel has by nature a modesty. This thing has a tznius. A camel is by nature tzanua. And a cat by nature is clean. You know, a dog has to be house trained. A cat doesn't have to be house trained. It's instinctively clean. It washes, it cleans its face, if you observe. So these are traits that we human beings would have learned from the animal. Now I want to give us a little bit more compliment than saying we will learn from the animal. The animal knows better than we. I mean, that's a little bit insulting. However, there is a fundamental difference between the way the human being does things and the way the animal does things. An animal does things instinctively, and a human being does everything through the process of intellect. I once discussed over here, we have a change of crew all the time, so bring it up again. There is a phenomenal thing that a little bit is kind of a shocker. A horse, when it's dropped, when it's born, a half hour later, literally a half hour later, the colt jumps around, runs around, gets up on his feet and starts walking around. How long does it take for a human baby to start walking? A year. 9 months, 10 months, a year. So would you say that the horse is more intelligent, is ahead of a human baby? Is more progressive? By far not. That's absolutely not the case. What then is it? How do we understand this difference? The answer is that the horse, when the horse starts jumping around and walking, he does not really know what it's doing. It doesn't go through its intellectual process. Oh, it's time to walk. It's a good thing to walk. It's instinctive. God has put in animals all kinds of instincts. It says that an eagle, and I'm mentioning things that you'll test in the Chumash later, that eagle, by nature, has a special love and affinity to its offspring. It protects the offspring with its life, more than other animals. A nesher is Rachmoni al-Bama. As I state, Rachmoni by instinct, Rachmoni al-Bama. So this is that the nesher understand what it, Rachmonis is, understand what it means. Not at all. But it's instincts. The Rebbe has put in animals all kinds of different instincts in order to give the human being a sense of certain things, and just be able to observe it and learn from it. So, a human baby, lahavdil, in order for a baby to walk, the baby has to observe walking and has to process the whole concept of walking through its intellect. Has to be able to relate to it and understand what walking is, why walk, and then it develops, it reveals a real soul understanding, a real intellectual understanding of the significance of walking. That's when it can walk. It takes a year's time to process all of this and to get all the strength and be able to do it. So the way a human being does things is an entirely different category than animals do. So if we say we would have learned it from the animal, it means this. The animal has it by instinct. We do not function by instinct at all. We function through the process of the intellect. And this is why we would not have invented it. It would not have come up to us automatically. Because we don't know by instinct. We understand things. We say this is right, this is wrong, this is good. This is why it would have been necessary for us to observe an animal and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'll give you another even more explicit illustration. We now fly airplanes. All of you were born after the airplane has been flying overhead. The airplane has been flying overhead just about 100 years. The world is 5,500 years old. What happened till then? Why couldn't human beings, fly? The birds fly. It took all these years and to observe this bird and realize, hey, maybe we can do the same thing. Maybe we can duplicate the bird. How does a bird fly? The bird has wings. It flies. It's held up by or maybe we can duplicate it. But it's not instinctive. It's all by intellectual process. Yes, the question is.
Yeah, what if you're just being led by your Bahama and you're solely, it's leading the way? Are you still Is your intellect still dictating what you do, or is it your passions take over and you're like an animal that way? I don't know. That's like the difference.
Yeah. This is exactly what we're going to talk about today. Okay. If anything is left after that, you can ask. So this Pasha is talking Mishpatim. That means that this Pasha is talking about such laws that a human being can readily understand. Mishpatim. Essentially, all rules that apply and control into human relations, like buying and selling, honesty, and so forth. So there are several interesting points here. Number one, this Pasha, Mishpatim, comes immediately after Pasha's Yisrael, right after Matan Torah. Just finished learning Matan Torah, all of a sudden we come into Eila Mishpatim. Now, Torah, primarily, that the Gemara said that Mishpatim is things that we could have learned from we were invented on our own. So what is the primary revelation, primary gift of Torah? It's Chukim and maybe even Eidos. But primarily this is the Chukim. What is the first thing that the Torah begins to talk about after Matan Torah? Mishpatim. That needs a little bit of more an explanation. Mishpatim should have come at the end. We should talk about Chukim, which is the primary revelation of Matan Torah, Eidos, and then come Mishpatim also. Even though we say that we have a general teaching that for us, even Mishpatim, even things that we can understand, we have to do them. We want to do them because Hashem wants us to do it. Hashem gave us the mitzvah in the Torah. We don't do them only because of our own seichel. We do them because this is a mitzvah from Hashem. That itself is a tremendously deep concept, and eventually will bring it to the fore. But we do know that even the Aseres Hadibros, there are Mishpatim. We spoke about it last week. These are Mishpatim, and yet they are part of the Aseres Hadibros. So even though that we are uninstructed that we should keep Mishpatim not because of our seichel only, but because this is a mitzvah from Hashem, it should come later. And the first thing should be, what is the primary teaching of Torah? The Mechukim and Mishpatim, which we would not have at all without Torah. And yet the first thing is Mishpatim. And then, as you learn through the Pasha, we see the Torah speaks about lending money. You should lend money. You should not withdraw, and so all kinds of different things. And then at the end, towards the end of the Pasha, we have the mitzvah of not mixing meat and dairy, which is already a chukah, in category of a chukah. And all the way at the end, it goes back to Matan Torah, as you will see at the end of Mishpatim. The inyan of Matan Torah is first being concluded at the end of Mishpatim. You all heard of the principle of Naser and Nishma. That Matan Torah was given to us as a result of Naser and Nishma. Naser and Nishma is first mentioned in at the end of Pasuk Mishpatim. How do we understand this sequence of presentation here? And the explanation is as follows. Like you asked, what is the seichel of the Nefesh HaBahamis? Nefesh HaBahamis is Abheim. And Nefesh Abamis, you have to force it, you have to beat up on it, and just tell them what to do. This is Nasa, you have to do. Don't ask any questions, you're not capable of understanding this. If this were the case, if the only way that we can do Torah mitzvahs is only by the approach of Nasa, just obey what you're told, then it would mean that Torah and mitzvahs and us would always forever be two separate things. There's a Torah, there is us, and we're just obedient sheep. We do what we're told to do. It doesn't really become one with us. We can't really relate to it. But that is not the case. How do we know it's not the case? We know it from the very fact that the Torah was given to us after we said, Naaseh v'nishma. Right? Now, David said, the Gemara says, I'm sure you're all aware of this. The Gemara said, when Eden said, Naaseh v'nishma, this is when the Rebbe said, okay, now you're going to give the Torah. What is the meaning of Naaseh v'nishma? We normally interpret it as saying that Eden said, we will obey first and foremost. Then we'll understand. We don't need to understand before. First and foremost, we'll obey. We'll be obedient. We'll be good boys. But if you look in the passage, it's interesting. Before that Eden said Naaseh v'nishma, they said 2 times Naaseh by itself, without nishma. If obedience is what the Rebbe is looking for, just plain obedience, without understanding, so why didn't we get the Torah when we said Naaseh? I don't know if you noticed, in Pashas Truma, in Pashas Yisrael, before Matan Torah, it says, that Eden said, Ku Asher Dibar Hashem Naaseh. Ku Adon Asher Dibar Hashem Naaseh.
It is Naaseh.
It says just plain Naaseh, without Mishpah. In Pashas Mishpatim, later on, as you'll go through, you will see that first Eden said Naaseh plain, without Mishpah. That still is not good enough. He said Naaseh twice. It's not good enough. Hashem is not ready to give the Torah. Finally they said Naaseh v'nishma. Then I said, oh, now I'm going to give him the Torah. In other words, Hashem wants us to understand and to know. To say Naaseh without Nishma is not really relating to Hashem, is not really relating to Torah. It's just recognizing you're the boss and I do what you tell me. But that's not what the Rebbe wants. That's not what Yiddishkeit is. That's not what Torah is. The Torah was not given to idiots. Torah was given to human beings, to Eden, to intelligent people. And the Torah was given to Eden that they should really understand it and make it their own. How is it possible? You're saying that this is higher than human understanding. And for this, we have to understand the whole principle of intelligence. You asked about the Nefesh Abamis. The real truth is that Nefesh Abamis is really like a behemoth in terms of its interest, what it's drawn to, and so forth. But there's a very big difference between the Nefesh Abamis of a human being and a behemoth in a plain behemoth. It is possible for a human being to lose his perspective, lose his way, and actually follow his instinct and follow his animal interests. But that's not the natural thing. The natural thing is that a human being, even at the simple behemoth level, also uses his intellect. there is a concept which is called, you may have come across, what's called Seichel Anushi. Did you ever hear that term, Seichel Anushi? Yeah. Human intellect. There's Seichel Eliki, there's Seichel Anushi, and there's Seichel Bahami. All of this Seichel Anushi, Seichel Bahami, and Seichel Eliki, this is all the property of the human being. The animal don't have any of that. And the animal doesn't even have Seichel Bahami. All intellect, like people, they see, oh, this animal, they're very smart and all that. This is all instinctive. This is not Seichel. It's not Seichel. A human being, even at the level of the behemoth, also has Seichel. What is Seichel? I want you to understand, Seichel is a very, very special gift that is uniquely human. And in this we are distinct entirely. There's absolutely no similarity between us and what happened with the animal. Seichel is a wonderful thing. It's a gift, a godly gift. Seichel really shows that the human being is a godly creation. Seichel is the capability that is exclusively the human being to know anything, to know whatever he knows, whatever he wants to know it without coming in contact with it. Know it objectively. What objectively means? Objectively, not by personal contact, personal experience, but to know the truth of something because it's true, because it's a reality. This is Seichel. And only a human being possesses that ability. Any questions, please ask me. I don't want to lose anybody here. What is so significant about that? As we said, Seichel is the ability to understand something because it's true, not because I have a personal experience and personal contact with it. Which means that the minute I know something, it becomes true. It's beckoning, it's calling me because this is the truth. It's not just my personal inclination, but there's a reality to it. And there are three levels in this Seichel, generally speaking. I mean, there are different variations of that. Three levels. It's called Seichel Bahami, Seichel Anushi, and Seichel Eliki. Sorry? No, Seichel Eliki is distinctly Jewish. Seichel Bahami, Seichel Anushi is free to all people. And Seichel Anushi is the intermediate level of Seichel that is capable of being raised up to Seichel, to understand the Likus. This is how a Goy is able to ultimately understand the Likus and become a Ger, to Seichel Anushi. I want to briefly discuss these three levels of Seichel. And the ultimate purpose that I want to discuss this is that we should all understand the power and the gift that we have, and understand the value of learning, and understand that we are not stuck. We're not stuck any place. We can rise up higher and higher indefinitely. Because we can understand and relate to something that is independently true. The truth itself. This is a tremendous thing. Let's start bottom up. Seichel Bahami. Bahami means a Seichel that understands things that you're drawn to the same way as a Bahami is drawn to it. Okay, let's say you want to eat certain piece of certain food. A human being he has a taiva for a certain food. Huh? And a behemoth also wants to eat.
Is the first difference?
Okay. Huh?
Is the first level, you think?
The first level, say the behemoth.
Yeah.
If we understand the human being, you'll see a big difference between the taiva of a human being, the way it is by a human being, and the taiva the way it is by an animal. By an animal, it's instinctive. He wants to eat it. And if he's excited, it's his food, yeah, excited. Then you go and you take the food away. So he barks a little bit and calms down and runs away. A human being, he wants it. It becomes a reality in his mind. No, I have to have it. This is good. This is something that becomes a reality. He can't easily distract himself from it. It becomes something real. He really wants it. It's not just like instinctive. An animal, you can calm him down in 2 minutes, Okay, finished. You ever notice, I don't want to go, I don't want to discuss this, I don't want to listen. This is, I think, everybody experiences here. Animals get excited about something, and then 2 minutes later they forgot about the whole thing. Doesn't happen by human beings like that. Sometimes it can take days until he comes down. He wanted something, and he can't calm himself down. Why? Because by human being, everything takes a form of the intellect. It takes a form of reality. And if this is real, you can't easily distract it. Forget about it. He really gets attached to it. He really wants it. In other words, he thinks this is good, this is the reality, I should pursue it. I should pursue it. In other words, not because of any reason, I should pursue it because it's a reality, it's a real thing. And if I don't pursue it, then I'm losing a certain thing that's real. And it becomes a real battle. That's why a human being, the battle with the Nefesh Abam is a real battle. It's not easy to overcome this. You need to eat the steak. It's a taiva, but it's not kosher. Among Islam, nobody has this. We don't have this kind of initiations. But some people, this is in the or it's not kosher, or it's not healthy, or you shouldn't really eat it. Try to hold yourself back. Hold yourself back a half hour later. Don't eat it right now. Push it up for a half hour. It's a whole battle. It's a whole battle. Because it's so real. That's the intellect. But this is the intellect at the level of the Behemoth. He understands only that which, so to speak, his animal instinct, his animal desire identifies for him. But it then becomes part of his seichel. Becomes his intellect and becomes real. He should really want it. You want to come here? I'll keep you awake. Come. If somebody, whatever it is, insulted you or looked at you the wrong way or spoke differently or whatever, he acted towards you in the wrong way. You get angry. You get angry. Then you say, okay, forget it. That's not so easy. Because you say, what do you mean, forget it? He did such and such, how can I forget it? Now it becomes a whole intellectual battle. Even though the whole thing itself is totally worthless. But it becomes an intellectual battle. So even at the level of our animal, already we have the intellectual power, the power of the intellect. Then we go a step higher, and this is exclusively human. It's called human intelligence. Something that the intellect itself defines as valuable. This is not something that comes naturally from animal instinct, from animal desire. This is something which only the human being recognizes. Let's say simple human behavior. When you eat soup, do you put your face into the plate, or you bring this soup up to your face?
Try not to stick your face in there.
Right, not to face it. You take a spoon and you bring it to you. Why? Why?
You brought up.
No, not because of that.
You were taught. How you were taught.
No, not it. You were taught by this way. It's true. But any child, any normal child, the minute you show him this is the way to eat, he says, yeah, that's the way to eat. You're right. That's right. This is the way to eat. Because it's humanly right. And you put your face into the plate, you feel like you're eating like an animal. What's wrong? I'm eating it. The same food. It's kosher food. What's wrong with eating it this way? Something is not right. It's not respectful. There's a human quality to it. This is called seichel anushi. This is also an intellectual directive. The intellect tells you this is not right. And if you acted, in other words, the basic human quality of a human being tells you that this is right and this is wrong. This is not right and wrong because of any ill effect. You're not stealing the food. You're not doing anything wrong. You know, some people say the reason that you eat with a spoon instead of putting your face into the plate, you don't want to get your face dirty. You want to soil up your clothes. That's absolutely not the reason. That's not the reason. It's just not humanly respectful to do it. And this includes an entire spectrum of human activity. Human beings behave like a human being, and it behaves differently. You say, he's behaving like an animal. Not he's doing anything wrong, but it's an animalistic behavior. He's not using his intellect. There is nothing wrong with it per se, but the intellect says this is not the way to behave. Then, of course, all the way above that, there is what is called seichel eliki. Seichel eliki is really a category all by itself. In truth, each one of these levels of seichel have a category itself. Now, the seichel anushi is way above seichel bahami. There's no comparison between a human being and an animal. There's no comparison. It's way above. Because seichel anushi defines something as being right and true and good just by seichel, the definition of seichel, for no other reason. Seichel bahami says, it is a tasty piece of food. There's some physical explanation for it, tangible explanation for it. I want it because it's tasty. But seichel anushi is pure seichel. Says, api seichel, this is wrong, nothing else. There's no other ramifications, no other consequences. Seichel eliki is still a category above it, and actually the gap between seichel anushi and seichel eliki is greater than between seichel anushi and seichel bahami. Seichel anushi is based on the fact that you are a human being. The fact that I'm a human being, who I am, is the self-respect and so forth. Seichel eliki is based on the absolute truth, on the absolute godly truth. Not what I am, but what is the truth? Where does the world come from? What does the world stand for? Why is there a world? Seichel Anushi, you accept the world, you accept everything. It's there, factual, I accept it. Now, what do I say? Human being. Human being is supposed to behave like a human being. So you accept the, so to speak, the reality of the world just because it's there, even though it doesn't make sense. Where does the world come from? I don't ask any questions. It's there. Fine, so let me live in it. Seichel Aliki is way above that. Seichel Aliki says, it's not enough to know that it's there. What is there? Why is it there? What is it for? Stand for? Do things exist for no reason at all? Such a huge development, such richness, such wealth, such beauty. This is for no purpose at all. That's a completely different perspective. It's a completely different perspective. However, in order to reach this level, the Seichel Aliki aspect, in order to come to a point where you begin to think not just right and wrong, humanly right and wrong, but to begin to think, what is this all about? Where is it all coming from? First, you have to become a full-fledged human being. You have to develop the human seichel first. You can't jump from animal to godly, because there's no way for you to understand the whole concept. What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong. I don't see what I'm doing wrong. Who cares what I do? So in order for one to come to this Seichel Aliki level, you have to first develop the Seichel Anushi. You have to develop it to its extreme level, to its purest level. Do not steal, not because if you steal, your neighbor is going to steal from you and the society is going to fall apart. Do not steal because it's wrong to steal. What's wrong with it? It's not human. Just on this level. It's not ethical. Before you come to understand, do not steal because you're offending God's world, first understand that you're offending the human world. If you see a person in trouble, like the Torah, this Pasha talks about, you see a donkey fallen under its weight, and you bypass and say, it's not my business. You say it's not moral to do that. You have to help him.
You have to what?
You have to help him. But he's my enemy. Look, if he's your enemy, that's why he should suffer like this. He should die. He should suffer. Come on. You don't have to kiss him. You don't have to be in love with him. But he's a human being. It's humanly right to help him. These are all the dinim, so to speak, in Pashat Mishpatim at the level of the human level. This human process is imperative. Imperative means it's a necessity, it's a must. In order to understand, to come to understand godliness, one first has to rise to become a human being. Because one first has to realize, to experience in his own mind, that there is such a thing as intellectual reality. Something that is true only exclusively because my intellect tells me that. Not because of any tangible, worldly ramifications. Once you got to that point, then you can rise to a higher level and truly understand godliness. Something which is higher than world. Something which is the cause and the reason for world. This is essentially what the Torah is teaching us here. That immediately after Matan Torah, which is the highest level, immediately after Matan Torah, in order to absorb Matan Torah, in order to come to the point of Nasa Nishma, that we should understand Torah, we should understand godly concepts, you have to go through the entire process of Mishpatim. You have to develop a human sense of right and wrong, of value. Only through understanding Mishpatim, fully understanding Mishpatim, only then can we reach the point of saying, really, Nasa V'Nishma. In other words, the principle of Nasa V'Nishma means that at Nasa V'Nishma, the Gemara says, it's an interesting Gemara. Gemara says that the Rebbe and when Eden said Nasa V'Nishma, and the Rebbe Hashem said, Mi gilo lebonai rozeh, who revealed to my children this secret. That was the whole concept of Nasa V'Nishma is like a profound secret. How did they ever realize this? And what's the great secret in this? The great secret in this is that this nishma, this understanding, which is impossible for a human being to reach, to understand, it's a chukah. It's really a godly seichel. But Eden realized then that through the process of Nasa, through the process of doing Torah, of accepting the Torah and doing and living according to the Torah, that develops and raises up the human being and reveals in the human being qualities that he never knew before. He never knew he had it. Huh?
The phrase reveals the qualities?
Sorry?
I didn't understand what you said. The phrase reveals the qualities, saying that phrase?
Not saying that phrase. No, the actual doing it. Nasa we will do. Doing will raises a person to a state where he can then understand things that before that he could never understand. Just like we now went through this concept that through the process of Seichel and Nushi, we can reach the point of Seichel Alaki. And without Seichel and Nushi, we cannot reach Seichel. So there was this great secret that Eden realized, which merited for them to get the Torah, is that they really understood the real process. They understood that ultimately you absolutely have to understand, which means you have to really absorb it and become one with it. To do Torah mitzvahs just because I believe, Hashem told me, I believe you, I don't need anything more, I do what you told me. It's a nice thing, but it's not enough. That's not what Torah is about. The Torah, the aim of the Torah, the Rebbe gave us the Torah is, as you've learned before, is to unite the upper world, the upper and the lower. To unite the upper and the lower does not only mean that the lower mimics the upper. You know what I'm saying? It reflects, it mimics it. You want me to do this? So I'll do this. No, that's not a union. They're two separate things, but you are mimicking. To unite means that the upper is being absorbed and being accepted by the lower to the extent that it becomes really something that he can relate to. This is the nishma. Fully understand, and really understand and recognize godliness in one's own intellect. This is when he becomes really united. And this is an explanation of this. This is what the Torah is, so to speak, exposing to us. You want to get to the real inyan of Torah. You know that the next parsha after Parshas Mishpatim is Parshas Truma. What's Parshas Truma about? Parshas Truma is about building the Mishkan. making a Mishkan. The Mishkan, the purpose of the Mishkan, is the also the Mikdash v'shachanti b'seicham. Hashem said, let them make for me a Mikdash, a holy place, and I will dwell amongst them. I will dwell within them. The Mishkan is supposed to capture on a permanent level the experience and the relation of Matan Torah. Matan Torah was just for that moment. And even saw Hashem and they heard Hashem's word. But that was just for the moment. In order to capture it in the world, it should be permanently with us. It's impossible that Matan Torah should be a continuous thing. Then the world couldn't function. You know that during the time that Matan Torah, Hashem revealed Himself, everything stopped functioning. But Hashem wants the world to function. But also not to lose this great revelation. We need that source of power. And this is what the Mishkan is about. The Mishkan is to make a place where the godly revelation will be fully revealed, but will be in its place. And that is the Mishkan. In the Mishkan there was, and then subsequently there was a Mikdash. There was the inner chamber of that is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And in the Kodesh HaKadoshim stood the Oren HaKodesh with the Luchas, where there was truly a constant godly presence of the highest level, the highest caliber. In order to come to the point where you can have a Mikdash, we can have a dwelling place for Hashem in this world, not a momentary thing, but on a permanent and a constant way. The preparation for that is Mishpatim. Preparation for that is to allow godliness to permeate our real very being. Not that it should be two separate things, but actually to permeate, to be absorbed by us, absorbed in our intellect, absorbed in our emotion. And that is to the process of Mishpatim, to the process of developing our own intellect. And Nasa, to fulfill the mitzvahs first because we were told, because we believe in it. And then eventually this leads us to the point where we are able to really nishma, understand it not only from the perspective of the human seichel, but from the perspective from the level of godly seichel. And then we really have in the Mikdash. This is how we build the Mikdash. We have a real godly presence in the world. And actually, as you will learn, I'm sure you already heard about this, the expression in the Pasuk is V'shachanti b'soichom. And you learn the Maimer from Mitzvah. B'soichel le'namar ola b'soichom, b'soichel lechem v'yechot. That the union for the Beis HaMikdash is not that Hashem should dwell in the Beis HaMikdash, but it should dwell in the heart of every Yid. Every Yid becomes a host and a dwelling place for the godly revelation. But that doesn't happen by itself. This happens through the preparation, through purifying oneself, to elevating oneself from his behema to his behema intellect to the human intellect, and then to the godly intellect. And so Hashem should help each one of us, each one of you, to really go through this whole process. And we should, every step we make, every time we understand something at the seichel, and every time that we are able to control ourselves and say, hey, forget your little behemoth. I'm a human being. I have to behave like a human being. You are facilitating, making possible for yourself and for your intellect to rise up and to understand something even higher than you. That is where the real life begins. This is the real life. This is, to understand a godly concept, this is real life. That's the reality itself. This is the source of the world. This is the meaning of life. Not just experience of life, but the meaning of life. And this is our avodah throughout these thousands of years, and particularly the last 2,000 years of Golus, particularly the latest moments. They should help them that we should all be zoche soon to see there is a mikdash internally by us, and the big Beis HaMikdash for the whole world to see.
Guys, please need a matzah sign, please, on the list. It's on the wall. For Shabbos, guys. For Shabbos. Yes, for Shabbos.